For a description of masking, please refer to Chapter 5 of the Reveal Manual. In Reveal, there are three ways of masking: auto aperture, the erosion filter, and masking as normally considered. So let's look first at the auto aperture. Auto aperture is used for trimming the edge of a circular aperture, as is shown here in the main window. So let's look at auto aperture. It's found in the analysis tools. So if we slide down, we'll see third from the bottom is auto aperture. So clicking on it brings it up. Now notice auto aperture is set as a percentage of the entire aperture. So right now it says 100, so it will not apply anywhere. It just would fit a circle around the outside edge. So let's set this to 95, just to clip 5% off. And then we'll click on Use Auto Aperture. Now if you watch closely in the phase map here, it trims down. So you see it drop down a bit. So I'll turn it on and off just to demonstrate its application. And this is useful for trimming off spikes that can sometimes occur at the surface, at the edge, and also for setting the clear aperture. And it's very rapid and it's easy to use. But again, it's only for circular apertures. So if you have an aperture other than circular, but you still want to do the same function, just trim the outside edges, then you would use the erosion filter. So let's click over to the phase screen and then click on the universal toolbar to open up the toolbar section, and then we can go to the left wrench to show the tools, and here are the layer tools. In the layer tools you have filtering, scaling, and mask. The mask will be associated with the mask filtering, which we'll talk about in a minute, or actually mask setting. Scaling, which has to do with how the actual plot looks, but let's look at filtering. And there's the data filters, which set frequency, and then there's these mask filters, which are shown. And the mask filter is just one. There's data erosion filter. And to demonstrate that, we will look at a part that has is a small part as opposed to a large one. It'll be easier to see how the erosion filter works. So to demonstrate the erosion, I've set up this square in a square to show you inside and outside erosion. So first off, I'm going to slide the erosion filter up into the active area, and immediately you could see some change here. But I'll click on it to change it from a 3x3, which takes 3 pixels off, and make it the largest it can be, which is an 11. And immediately upon clicking, you could see that change. So again, I'll turn it on and off by clicking on this check mark on. I should say it's off, and then on. You can see how that clipped. There's another tool here at the bottom. We can type in how many areas, all areas, meaning inside and outside, or just the inside. So let's just clip the inside. So I'll turn it on and off and show you that only the inside is being trimmed. And now let's go and put the outside only. And in here, in this case, the outside's only being trimmed. And of course, as we were, there's all areas, which is inside and outside being trimmed. And that shows here. Another item to note is that you can add erosion filters on top of each other. So I'll just keep adding 3x3s in here, and you can see how they trim and trim again. And then you can turn them on and off at will. So this is an effective filter for non-circular parts. So now that you're done with the erosion filters, you can either just turn them off by unclicking them, or you can erase them by just removing the filter. So highlight it as I've shown, and then click Remove Filter. It disappears, highlights the next, we remove that one, and remove the next. So we already have the layer tools open here, and the mask filters. So let's just go to the bottom and open up Mask Tree, which we'll be using shortly. And here we have the mask icon. So we'll open and close the mask editor. So by clicking, it turns green and we open it. Now you'll notice some items about this mask. Let's just look at the screen here. You see the screen is green where there is the data array, which is the camera array, but there's no data there. The data is shown here in color. And if we had data that was filtered out already by another filter, you would see a gray spot here. So you have the green where there's pixels, gray where something's already been removed by maybe a spike filter or other filter, and then the color shows the map. Across the top, when you open the mask filter, as I'll close it and I'll reopen it, you see the items here which are pre-designed masks for you. Two squares like for a prism, half corner cube, the full corner cube mask, a pie mask, polygon, ellipse, rectangle, and circle. And then we have controls here which are grayed out because we don't have any masks yet. And finally there's the another item which is inserting a mask from files. So if you have already created a mask and saved it, you can load it at this point. So let's go ahead and manufacture a mask. So first off, I'm going to build a circle. So I click on it, I bring it into the area where I want it. As you notice that you click on the center and you draw it out, you click again, and now we have an exclude mask. It's an exclude because you can see it's cloudy in here. It's covering up that area. You will not see it. So when we close the mask, you see that's a hole now. So let's reopen it. So that's how quickly you can create a mask, and you can move it around the screen as shown here, and you can grab the other handle and resize it manually here. Now it should be noted that once we've clicked on it, you'll notice up here on the upper left in the masks tree, it's the same as clicking it here. So you can either select it here on the actual graph, or you can go over to the mask tree if it's unclicked and click it there. When you do, notice underneath the mask tree there are these controls. There's the actual radius, which you can change its size here, and very precisely, once you have a calibrated aperture, you can know exactly what the radius is of that. You can scale it, and this is particularly useful if you have complicated masks. You can rotate it, which cannot be seen with a circle, but the square will be obvious, and you can position it. So you have complete control to very small levels. And even though these are down to angstrom level, really we're only worried about pixel level type motions here. So you'll see that it's moving in the tenths of a millimeter range. So once you have this mask, you can also change it from a hole, which is an exclude, to an include by clicking on this circle that's half black and half white. By clicking it, now we've changed it to an include mask. Now this is going to be where the measurement is, and we'll show you by closing the mask editor. Now this is the data we're actually going to be displaying and showing results on. So you can change from an include, shown here, to an exclude by highlighting and clicking this black-white change, and now we have an exclude, and when we close, you'll see it's excluding.